All right, good morning, everyone. Before I call this meeting to order, I'll note for the record I'll serve as acting chair. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation, DBA's ESD, for Thursday, November 15th,
18th.
Sorry. It's not November 15th, is it?
No, it's not.
No. Okay. As noted on the agenda posted to the internet, we welcome
You
public
have
comment on the
successfully
items on our
connected to the
agenda to ensure
webcast.
maximum
The
opportunity for
meeting will begin
participation.
shortly.
Speakers representing themselves may speak for up to 2 minutes each, and those representing groups may speak for up to 4 minutes. The directors have received the written materials in advance of today's meeting. At this time, I'll ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflicts of interest. None. We will now move to our first agenda item. Amanda Mays from our Western New York region will start us off with the City of Jamestown Working Capital Project. Amanda.
You have successfully connected to the webcast. The meeting will begin shortly.
To approve a $1 million grant from the New York Works Economic Development Fund to the City of Jamestown that will provide assistance with operating costs and administration for economic development projects. Working capital assistance will be provided for the city to finance the administration of the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency that provides a variety of services, including economic development services. For debt service payments that were part of the financing package for a multi-million-dollar initiative to reconstruct and rehabilitate the elevated plaza entrance to the Jamestown Municipal Building, and for administration of work performed on various economic development projects done by the City of Jamestown employees. The funds will support the city's work on advancing its downtown Jamestown community development plan that addresses the revitalization of the downtown business district. The state has made a great deal of investments in the city in recent years, including through the 2016 Downtown Revitalization Initiative and construction of the National Comedy Center. And with this funding, the state would be helping to ensure that Jamestown continues to make critical community and economic investments. The project supports Western New York's smart growth strategy, investing in its historic downtowns to create attractive places to live, work, and play.
Okay, any questions or comments from directors to Amanda on this working capital for Jamestown item? Are there any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve?
Move it. Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Tom Conoscenti will present today's final agenda item, which relates to the Belmont Park redevelopment, civic, and land use improvement project. Tom?
Thank you and good morning. The directors are being asked to accept the draft Environmental Impact Statement, or DEIS, and adopt the proposed General Project Plan, or GPP, for the Belmont Park redevelopment, civic, and land use improvement project, and to take related actions. These actions would allow ESD to take the next steps in soliciting public comment on the DEIS and the GPP at public hearings and through a written comment period. Following the comment period, ESD staff will prepare responses to the public comments, the final GPP and final EIS, and report back to the directors for their consideration and action on these items. At the conclusion of ESD's process, ESD would seek the approval of the Public Authorities Control Board. In addition, the Franchise Oversight Board would review this transaction. I would like to update the directors on the process we undertook since the directors conditionally designated this project almost 1 year ago. First, almost immediately after the conditional designation of New York Arena Partners last year, we formed a Community Advisory Committee, or CAC, that has been working with us for almost a year to shape and refine the project. The CAC has been instrumental in providing advice on a number of issues, such as the hotel height, location of the electrical substation, and the location of public recreation space. The CAC meetings were part of a robust community engagement process, which included 5 public meetings, 13 tours and smaller community meetings, 13 CAC and elected official meetings, and ongoing communications with elected officials and other government agencies and their staff. Second, we conducted an environmental scoping process where we received numerous comments which we responded to in writing, which informed the final EIS scope. Last, we have been working with the development team, Long Island Railroad, our consultants, and all of our partners to prepare the materials presented to you today. I want to thank the tremendous amount of hours that folks have spent to get to this point, recognizing there is still a lot of work ahead. As I mentioned earlier, today is just the next step in a longer process. With that, I'd like to walk the board through some of the essential terms of the project, and please note there is a lot more detail in the materials you have received. First, broad strokes, the project plan has the same major components as it did when we presented it last year. An up to 19,000-seat arena that would serve as the long-term home for the New York Islanders, an up to 250-key hotel, up to 435,000 square feet of retail. It has office space, community facility space, parking, and open space. Per the RFP, gaming such as video lottery terminals and casino games are prohibited. What has been refined significantly over the past year is the site plan. The height of the hotel has been capped at 150 feet from the original proposal of over 250 feet. The majority of retail space has moved to the parcel south of Hempstead Turnpike with parking underneath. The dollars that would have been spent on new recreational space on-site are going to improve nearby Elmont Road Park at the recommendation of the CAC, Elmont community members, and elected officials, and the community facility space, which is expected to focus on education and career development services, will be integrated into the site. The revised site plan also creates new public plazas and gathering spaces around the arena and hotel that are inviting and will create a destination that complements Belmont Racetrack. Copies of the site plan are included in the materials. The project affects other areas within Belmont Park, including the existing parking lots at Belmont Park Racetrack. These lots have a capacity for approximately 6,300 spaces and would be accessible from Hempstead Turnpike and the Cross Island Parkway only. In addition, a proposed substation for PSE&G is to be located near the off-ramp to exit 26D by the north lot. And last, the Belmont Park Racetrack train station will be upgraded for service before and after arena events. To service events at Belmont, the Long Island Railroad will provide 2 trains to Belmont prior to events and 2 trains after the events. There is currently only limited service during racing season with ramped-up service for the Belmont Stakes. One improvement to what we refer to as the spur that takes trains off the main line to Belmont Park is the upgrading of 10 hand-thrown switches. The developer will contribute to the upgrades as well as the operations of those 2 trains. In addition, ESD and the Long Island Railroad will work concurrently to explore opportunities for a full-time station with eastbound and westbound service to meet the needs of commuters and local residents. As it relates to the business deal, this is a 49-year lease with renewal options for up to 99 years. The developer is going to make a $40 million upfront payment for the 49-year term. Those funds would be used exclusively for on-site infrastructure improvements to be made by the developer and mass transit improvements. Any funds used for on-site infrastructure improvements would be repaid through a percentage of sales arrangement. The rest of the project, totaling $1.18 billion, is privately funded: the arena, the retail village, and the hotel. The project is estimated to create new employment opportunities totaling over 10,000 construction jobs and nearly 3,000 permanent jobs. Due to ESD's ownership of the property, the land will not be subject to certain taxes. As such, we will enter into a payment in lieu of tax structure or pilot agreement with the developer, and these payments would be remitted to the local taxing jurisdiction. The arena would pay a guaranteed minimum annual payment of $1 million, escalating annually. The hotel would have a 20-year abatement on the improvements, phased in on a straight line with annual escalations, and the retail village would have a 15-year abatement on the improvements, phased in on a straight line with annual escalations. To summarize the results of the DEIS, there are a number of intersections in the local traffic network that were identified as experiencing significant adverse impacts. While almost all of them could be mitigated through standard traffic mitigation measures, there are 2 intersections in Queens that remain unmitigated. However, we are developing a transportation management plan to identify additional measures that could alleviate these conditions. In addition, there are segments of the Cross Island Parkway which have adverse impacts which cannot be mitigated. Again, we are working on a transportation management plan to influence behavior of event goers and users of the road to further alleviate these projected traffic conditions. The plan would include effective strategies such as traffic information signs, working with GPS app companies, and providing incentives for carpooling and staggered arrival times. During the construction period, there would also be significant adverse impacts relating to construction noise and traffic. The DEIS presents mitigation strategies for these impacts. And the materials include draft design guidelines for the project, which would be an attachment to the transaction documents, as well as a site study examining conditions at the project site. Thank you, and we are happy to answer questions.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Let's see, I know we have members of the public here. Before we get to that, let's see if there's any questions from the directors or any comments. What would the next step of this process be? Like, give us a sense in the context of beginning to end.
Yep. So the next step would be public hearings on the project. We're looking to have public hearings in early January, on January 9th and 10th. We will also have a written comment period, which will extend out into February 11th. And once we have all those comments, we will go through those comments and respond to comments in writing as part of the FEIS, and we will come back to the board at that point.
And then can you remind us when this process started and how many different meetings or input sessions there have been about?
Sure. So we, I think we came to the board, I want to say it was December 20th of last year. And since then, we've had, like I said earlier, I think there was about, I have the exact number, but it was, we had 5 public meetings on the project and 13 community advisory meeting and elected official meetings. And then we've met with a number of community groups during this process.
Okay. Any other
I have
questions?
just a quick question. Can you talk a little bit more about traffic issues or transportation issues? I couldn't really tell from the presentation if, I know it's an issue that's out there, but if you anticipate this to be a big problem or a small problem that's manageable.
Yep. I'm going to let Rachel Schatz, our
Yeah.
Vice President for Planning.
It is a problem. I think we knew that going in. And there are strategies that we've identified in the EIS that will alleviate almost all of them in the local network. The Cross Island Parkway is a bit more of a challenge. And we will be, we've already started the exploration, and we'll be spending the time during our draft and final to further develop this transportation management plan, which will have some less conventional, less standard measures and strategies to influence the traffic behavior and opportunities and choices for people coming to the site. And hopefully that way it will disperse the traffic over a wider period instead of just arriving, right before the event, and hopefully providing options other than just a private vehicle.
Just want to add one other comment is we heard a lot from the communities surrounding Belmont Park, both Elmont and Floral Park, particularly as well as parts of Queens, concern about use of the private residential roads. And so a lot of the attention has been paid to ensuring the parking distribution will go out to the main roads and just across Island. And there's a lot of attention being paid as we're developing these transportation plans to protect those residential streets and to try to keep it more on the expressway and Hempstead Parkway.
The project does provide enough parking for all attendees on a sold-out or hockey event, for example, which would be the worst case.
Okay, any other comments or questions from directors? Okay, we are going to get to all the members of the public. I just want to remind everybody, if you're speaking on behalf of yourself, 2 minutes, and if you're speaking on behalf of a group, 4 minutes. We're going to call you by name. Emma is going to call you for your comment, and I'll turn it over to Emma.
Hi, so first person speaking is Tammy Williams on behalf of the Belmont Park Community Coalition.
Maybe you should come to the microphone.
Just handing in my statement, just. Okay. All right, good morning and good afternoon. Just in case my time runs out, the framework of my presentation. During this process, we have heard about jobs and development and the economic engine that justifies this giveaway of state land worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Has ESDC studied the impact of stadiums and arenas around the country to see if they do produce economic generators, increase in job growth for local communities? Do they fulfill the economic promises made to the communities? This study needs to be an integral part in the DEIS. Has ESD studied how stadiums and arenas have impacted the quality of life of community character in surrounding neighborhoods? Good morning, my name is Tammy Williams. I am a board member of the Belmont Park Community Coalition. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank Empire State Development Corporation, ESDC, and the board members present for allowing me to speak today. Today, December 6, 2018, marks 352 days since ESDC awarded New York Arena Partners bid for an 18,000 seat, now up to 19,000. Islanders NHL Team Arena, 250-room hotel, and 435,000 square feet of restaurants, retail shops at Belmont Park in Elmont. During that time, New York Arena's owner, John Ledecky, despite his public insistence to contrary, has not come to meet with the people of Elmont or its representatives in the Belmont Park Community Coalition. He wants us to host his team, but has not come to the table and ask for our blessings, not once. What has happened has been a series of shows and presentations. The representatives of ESDC held a public scoping session where questions and answers were scripted, and another presentation over the summer that basically reiterated the same old project. With that being said, we have community members from Floral Park as well as Belrose who will be speaking after me. Before my time is up, the UDC Act and SECRA Act were designed to protect communities like ours from sweetheart backroom deals to significantly impact the community's resources, hurt the quality of life, and disrupt community character. Instead, during the process, representatives from EDSC and the developer teams dictate and lecture to our community what is best for us and told us to change our ways. You'll read more about this in my statement. I know my time is running out, but please explain to me, according to the UDC Act, civic and land use improvement projects such as this one that you clarified of substandard and insanitary area or arrest prevention and elimination of slums and blight. Where is there in Elmont, Belrose, and Floral Park slum or blight? Can ESDC please point out the substandard and insanitary area of Elmont, Belrose, and Floral Park? Can ESDC please point out the educational portion of this plan? Can ESDC tell us how many hockey fans there are in Elmont who need the Islanders right next door and can't travel to a newly renovated arena 8 miles down the road in Uniondale? This is my community. I love this community. Like I mentioned to Marion, I have a son who has sickle cell and autism. If I can't get on that Cross Island to get a medication that he needs monthly to stay alive, okay, this is our community, and you're supposed to represent the people of this community, not the Islanders and what they want. Whatever they want, they can get it at Nassau Coliseum. Do not destroy my community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Deputy Mayor Kevin Fitzgerald on behalf of Incorporated Village of Floral Park.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and I'd like to thank the ESD for all their work over the last year or so. Last year I stood here, and at the end of my speech I mentioned that I would like to see a project that would either keep or improve Floral Park and its suburban character. Over the last year, we've submitted over 200 questions, so I think it's well documented what those concerns are. But I'm here today primarily because the scope of the project has significantly changed since it was conditionally approved a year ago. And the concern is the north lot that abuts the north part of the track and Floral Park's homes, playground, soccer fields, and the Floral Park Belrose Elementary School. I don't know of another arena that has a parking lot that could be used for tailgating and other events that is that close to that kind of a community. It's a very big concern for us. Next, I would like to ask the board members of the ESD to come to the public hearings so that they could hear and feel the emotions and sincerity of our residents as opposed to just reading it on paper. You can read the questions, the answers on paper, but you may not necessarily get the emotions and sincerity of the people of Floral Park. If you were at the meeting, I think you would see that. And then lastly, the traffic that was mentioned. Traffic in Floral Park already is a significant problem and has been for a couple of years. With the advent of the third track construction, it's just getting worse, and it continues to get worse and will get worse over the next 3 to 4 years. And to add another significant project that's going to be constructed on the south side of Floral Park would significantly probably cripple traffic and economics of our business and the livelihood of the residents of Floral Park. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing, hopefully, all of our questions answered satisfactorily. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Village Administrator Gerald Brombrick of Incorporated Village of Floral Park.
Thank you, Gerard Bambrick. I'm the Village Administrator in the Village of Floral Park. And first, I'd like to, as Trustee Fitzgerald did, thank the BSD Board for the time and effort that they're taking and looking at this project. And, but I just want to, reiterate what Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald said, and I think the gist of it is that the size and scope of this project has grown to a point that the intensity of it really is out of character with what we believe is the suburban character of the neighborhoods that surround surround Belmont, including Floral Park. The plans of the town of Hempstead and Nassau County, I believe, try to preserve the suburban character, and I find it a little troubling in the papers I've read that we received last night. In the project plan, it talks about findings, and one of the findings you have is that compliance with the town of Hempstead zoning laws is not feasible or practicable, and as part of this process and findings today, it appears you're overriding those zoning laws. What I find troubling is you seem to be making these findings without the benefit of the plan, the disclosures and the process that is designed by Secret to consider alternatives. If you consider alternatives that are less intensive for the use, maybe we could alleviate some of the problems that Trustee Fitzgerald talked about, like the use of the north lot. If this project, one aspect of this has never seemed to have been considered is scaling the project down. Since last December, this project only seems to have grown, despite our comments that it's just too intensive, that it impacts the traffic issues, it impacts the quality of life issues. The development of that south lot is now pushing the parking onto the north lot, which borders our residential areas and our schools. All these issues are interrelated, and the fact that you're coming now to have a finding that the town of Hempstead zoning laws should be overridden before you've considered alternatives that would be more in compliance, if not completely in compliance, with the town of Hempstead zoning laws, this strikes me as premature, and I think the board should consider that as you move forward. Thank you.
Next is Kevin Flood on behalf of West End Civic Association.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Flood. I am the Vice President of the West End Civic Association in Floral Park. I come to you today to read a statement on behalf of all the civics of the Village of Floral Park. As the civic associations of Floral Park are committed to ensuring that the way of life our residents have enjoyed for over the past 110 years remains the same or improves, we, along with the Incorporated Village of Floral Park, share the belief that the proposed development at Belmont Park will have a significant detrimental effect on the existing fabric of our community. We state this based on the proposed plans as described in the final scoping document, which proposed plans raise many issues and concerns that need to be addressed in the upcoming draft environmental impact statement document. Chiefly among these concerns are the current proposed scope of the project is too large and incompatible with the existing suburban character of the communities that surround Belmont Park, including Floral Park. The potential use of the north lot, the parking lot directly adjacent to the west end of the village of Floral Park, and that which shares a border with the Floral Park Belrose Elementary School, which is being proposed to be used for 3,000 parking spots for over 100 events at the arena, while no buffer to our school and homes is being proposed, will negatively impact our children attending the Floral Park Belrose Elementary School and disrupt the existing peaceful and quiet residential nature of the west end of the village. The significant increase in traffic that will accompany the projected 45,000 daily visitors to the site, which is approximately the amount of a non-Triple Crown Belmont Stakes Day, will overwhelm our roadways in Floral Park and negatively impact our police and emergency vehicle response times. The lack of proper infrastructure, for example, the Long Island Railroad and the existing roadways that currently do not exist to accommodate the development of this site. This will add extreme pressure to an already overused infrastructure within the village of Floral Park and the surrounding neighboring communities. The added strain on village resources such as police, fire, and public works will directly result in the need to increase those services and further costs an increase in the residents' taxes. We urge that all of our members, along with the residents of not only Floral Park, but the additional communities that neighbor Belmont Park, become educated on this project and ensure their comments are heard. And I have another minute. I'm just going to go on. That was on behalf of the Village of Floral Park 4 civic associations. Just want to go off and, on a personal note, I grew up in Floral Park. It's a very special place. Those who have been there probably could recognize that. And I hear a lot of quotes from ESD spokespersons saying that there's an enormous amount of community support for this project, but I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. Floral Park is where we live, where we raise our families, where we own our homes, where we have friends, we have neighbors, and it's a special place, and we're very concerned that it's going to be taken away from us. So I want you to consider that as you move forward with the project. Thank you.
Next is Norman Siegel on behalf of Belmont Park Community Coalition.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, I want to begin by thanking you for your public service. And I do this even though in the next 3.5 minutes you'll hear I'm very disappointed in the process. I haven't yet read the DEIS. I haven't gotten it, and of course I will. But what I've been informed with is that what we have requested for almost a year has not been addressed. And the reason you need to do that is the requirement under SECRET for the hard look. I think you're very deficient at this point. Let me try, in the short period of time, to address what I consider at least two Achilles' heel in this project, although there are many other problems, and Tammy Williams' statement goes through a lot of them. First one is the transportation issue, and the second one is the study of stadiums and arenas, sports stadiums. With regard, I apologize, I don't know everyone's name. The gentleman who was sitting to the left of the chair, you asked a very important question to the presentation. You framed it, is it a major problem, a minor problem that could be dealt with? It is a huge, big problem, as one of the ESD people responded. In the presentation, the record will reflect that it said we were going to explore possibilities with regard to the transportation problem. It's too speculative, too remote. You need to come to those conclusions now. Is there going to be a Belmont Stop 365? If not, why not? What's the alternative? There are legal consequences for this as well as public policy questions. Time doesn't allow me to go through all the details, but with the document, the response to the comments in the final scope for DIS, I respectfully ask you take a look at 237, which basically says you're going to develop a plan to expand the Long Island Railroad service to Belmont Park Station. No qualifications, no possibility. But then in 242 and 244, you specifically say all of this is outside the scope of the DEIS. If that's true, you got a huge problem, in my opinion. Take a look at those inconsistent statements. With regard to the issue of stadiums and arenas, the last 2 decades, cities, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., even Brooklyn with the Barclays Center, they have constructed sports arenas and stadiums. There is data. There are books written about this phenomenon. And a lot of the conclusion by the analysis and writers and economists say that the promises are never fulfilled. There are lots of promises here. If you don't study what's happening in those other cities, you go before a judge, that opens a huge Achilles heel. And we've been raising this in the record on numerous occasions. There are other serious problems with regard to the commitment, with regard to meaningful participation of minority and women-owned businesses. We've said over and over again, what does that mean? What are the goals? What are the timetables? How many African Americans? How many Latinos? How many people of color? How many women? There's nothing in here at this point. So you're not really taking a hard look on that. With regard to displacement, what about secondary displacement for businesses and residents? What about the increased cost for the police and the fire people, for the people from Floral Park and Elmont? As far as I know, there's nothing really addressing it. So let me conclude that in the DIS, to complete the CEQA process, you need to document in detail the direct and indirect effects of the project, including the effects on the community character, residential and commercial displacement, and how much of taxpayers' money will be spent and or waived on this project. I really do submit to you that at this point, if the documents that I've seen and what I've heard is what you're going to go forward with, sir, you got a huge problem. Thank you very much.
Next is Jennifer Rimmer on behalf of Senator Phillips.
Good morning. Good morning to the ESDC board, and I'm speaking on behalf of Senator Phillips. As a state senator representing the 7th Senate District in Belmont Park, I want to offer my sincere congratulations and best wishes as Empire State Development Corporation and New York Islanders move forward with the redevelopment of the park. The redevelopment of Belmont Park has long been overdue, and I applaud ESDC for moving forward with this important project, which will shape our region's economic future. The foundation has now been laid to make Belmont Park a reinvigorated economic engine for the region and state, which will strengthen the already existing racing industry and make Nassau County a destination location. This development will create much-needed job growth, contribute to economic development, and enhance the business district along the Hempstead Turnpike corridor. In the coming months and year, I ask that ESDC ensure the surrounding community's voices remain heard during the redevelopment and that all stakeholders involved keep an open dialogue throughout the endeavor to ensure residents remain informed and will have their concerns addressed. And also wanted to add that we're pleased to hear that there is no casinos allowed because there have been rumors in the communities that a casino is part of the project. It has been a pleasure working with ESDC, and I wish you and the Belmont Park redevelopment project great success. Sincerely, Elaine Phillips, Senator for the 7th District. Thank you.
Richard Hollenbright on behalf of Belrose Commonwealth Civic Association.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Richard Hellenbrecht. I'm Treasurer Secretary of the Belrose Commonwealth Civic Association, and by way of introduction, I'm also Chair of Land Use for Community Board 13 in Queens. I just wanted to make very clear that Queens is here and that Queens needs to be part of this project. This project, although it's in Nassau County, is immediately bordering on the Queens border and the communities of Belrose, Queens Village, Cambria Heights, and several other communities in Queens. We've already had some meetings. I've not prepared formal comments for today, but I've submitted many of my issues in writing in the past. I hate to be repetitive, as everybody else has mentioned traffic. It is a serious, serious issue. Cross Island Parkway, there is no alternative to Cross Island Parkway within several miles. To the west is Van Wyck, to the east, way out is Meadowbrook Parkway going north and south. There is no other alternative except local roads, which are terribly congested. We depend on using the Cross Island Parkway to get just about anywhere. From Belrose, from all of the other communities, including Floral Park and Nassau and Elmont and everybody else. But that road is jam-packed from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until probably 7 o'clock at night, the time frame in which people would probably be coming to a game. So it is just going to exacerbate an existing problem, and I don't see any opportunity for expanding that roadway. And if they did, it would just take care of existing traffic, not future traffic caused by this project. I personally see very little need for a specific arena in this area. There are alternatives, so I have a serious question as to the need. I see very little community benefit as a result of this. The existing neighborhoods are really not going to benefit very much from this. There's very little need for additional retail. We all know that retail is going in a totally different direction through electronics and the web. The need for hotels. I don't see a current need for a hotel, even with the arena. There are within this catchment probably 20 hotels, many of which have already been converted to homeless shelters, and I'd certainly hate to see an additional 250 rooms come in if there's not a need on a regular basis for them. Those needs that do exist could easily be met by hotels in Floral Park and in Belrose that have existing vacancies, and that's very, very close by. So that's a serious concern to me. Obviously, concerns of transportation in terms of public transportation. I don't see the MTA really being able to make a permanent station here or a permanent station to operate on a regular basis. They're currently saving $1 billion, or trying to save $1 billion by reducing cleaning and by increasing headways between trains. To be able to put money into a significant project like this, I just don't see the availability of that kind of funds, and that they're going to be able to have the manpower and the brain power to get that done. Serious concerns in terms of congestion and pollution and everything else that should come up in an EIS. We need to really be very close and follow that carefully. That's it for my time. I thank you very much, and thank you for your work.
Next is Pat McKenna on behalf of NYRA.
My name is Pat McKenna. I'm the Communications Director for the New York Racing Association, and I'm here today to read a letter on behalf of NYRA's CEO and President Chris Kay. Since the selection by New York State's Empire State Development Corporation, ESD, of NIAP in late December of 2017, the New York Racing Association has had a productive series of meetings and dialogue with both NIAP and ESD in an effort to ensure that our separate venues and separate plans can be implemented in a way that is mutually beneficial. As a result of these meetings, a number of issues have been resolved. For the sake of brevity, I will provide a few examples at this time. First, the utility provider for this area, PSE&G Long Island, had chosen a site for a new electrical substation to serve the NIAP project on NYRA's leasehold interest, without consulting beforehand with us or with the surrounding neighborhoods. Both NYRA and some of the neighbors objected to the proposed site. NYRA responded by identifying several other potential sites on our property, and then invited representatives from NIAP, ESD, and PSE&G to inspect and evaluate those alternative sites. The parties, working together, agreed upon a new site, one that is not immediately adjacent to a local school. Second, NYRA collaborated with NIAP and ESD to address programming at each venue. NYRA and NIAP have agreed that they will not schedule large-scale events at the same time in our separate venues. For example, NIAP will not have a hockey game on the day of the Belmont Stakes. We've also agreed upon plans for smaller events conducted at each facility. For several reasons, I believe this proposed development will create a beneficial impact for those living in the areas surrounding Belmont Park. Others have made the case for the significant number of jobs that will result in the construction process and thereafter in the operation of the arena, hotel, restaurants, and all the service provides that support those businesses. As a result, I will not repeat those comments, but instead offer a different perspective. It is our understanding that NIAP will offer a series of restaurants in its new arena and hotel. NYRA also will be offering new restaurants in its separate redevelopment of the clubhouse section of our building. We've had collaborative discussions with NIAP with the goal of ensuring that the restaurants in our separate venues will create a combination of new and diverse restaurants in terms of both prices, menu offerings for the public. As someone who has lived near the City Walk development in Orlando, I can attest to the benefit of easily enjoying a collection of such restaurants and entertainment venues with family and friends. We still spend time at what have become some of our favorite restaurants, some we visit on special occasions, and some we visit on a regular basis. For all these reasons, we support the efforts of the state, ESD, and NIAP to proceed with this project. Sincerely, Chris Kay.
Tanya Laws, speaking as an individual.
Good morning. Board of Directors and guests, my name is Tanya Laws, and I've lived in Elmont for 39 years. Over those years, I've watched the community grow and embrace many changes. No one knows the future or what it holds, but change is inevitable. The Belmont Park redevelopment offers positive change not only for Elmont, but for the surrounding areas. Our hardworking families welcome the chance to beautify the area. This redevelopment will give opportunity for economic growth and help reduce property taxes, which is a welcome change that we all look forward to. In 2015, Elmont started a visioning plan, and this particular project goes along with most of what we envisioned, and our area needs it. If this goes forward, please keep in mind that if we have open communication, patience, we will see positive results which will benefit us not only now, but for generations to come. I would also like to remind you that Elmont was mostly farmland, Long Island. If no one took the time to put together a visioning plan for schools and homes, it would still all be farmland. Thank you for your time and consideration. Happy holidays and God bless. And I'd also like to note that I have 2 letters from 2 other community members, Sandra Smith and John Johnson Sr., who are also in support of the project. Thank you.
Okay. Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, the written comments that were provided today are incorporated in the process and, will be reviewed and staff will respond and take into consideration all of those comments. Is that correct?
Yes, we will review the comments, and comments that we receive, over the next 2 months will get incorporated into the FEIS, and we'll respond to those individually.
Okay. And remind us again what the next, the sequence is here, what will happen with these comments and what the next step is?
So we have plans to have public hearings, and the 9th and 10th, and I believe now the 8th as well. We're going to have...
Of January?
Of January, yes. In addition to that, we will have, we will accept written comments until February 11th at 5 p.m. And once we have all of those comments, we will go through them and respond to them, and we will come back to the board. I would say that's sometime in Q2 of next year. We want to take the time to go through those comments, and once we've incorporated that, we'll present.
Are those available publicly or online, the questions and answers?
So for the scoping scoping process hearing that we had back in March, we did respond to comments and we did post that up on our website. And when we post responses to comments in the final environmental impact statement, that will also go up online. So the action today will allow us to post the draft environmental impact statement online that people can comment on, and then we will come back and once we've updated that and get approval, we will post the FEIS online.
Okay, and I want to note additionally, the comments that we've received will be addressed by staff and presented to the directors to inform their final considerations of the project and the UDC Act and secret findings for the project. Are there any other questions from directors?
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty, the people that presented today pointed out really 4 areas that they were concerned with. And I think what we've got to do is make sure that we in our approvals address to the extent that we can, address their concerns. And I hope that we're going to do that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, as a result of getting feedback here, but all your public hearings as well.
Yes.
Right.
Any other questions or comments from directors? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Is there a
Yes,
second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Good, thank you.